It's episode 989, and it's the Relevant Podcast for the second show in a row. I'm here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Recording. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from the other side of the house, Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From San Diego, California, Gabrielle Griffin.
Yes. Hi, guys.
I forget. I don't know. You guys are all over the place.
I've been here a while.
I know. Okay, and then are you still in Colorado, Emily?
Yes, I am.
From Colorado Springs.
In my haunted house.
In the haunted house still. Our very own downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Okay, it's August. Emily, this has gone on long enough. You are somewhere different every time we talk. I know. Yeah, I'm traveling summer break, right? Summer vacation, different things like that. But it's a problem, and we need to talk about this. Where are you going next, and why?
That is a really great question. The answer to that is I don't know.
Oh.
I only have things planned until really like the first week of August.
Which is right now.
Which is right now, yeah. So I'll be at my parents' house for a week, and we're determining, by we, I mean myself, I'm determining where I'm going to go next. I'll probably couch hop in Texas again, just see some friends that I haven't seen in a couple weeks or months. But I still have a couple trips that I'd like to take. So I really want to go to Boston in the fall, because that I hear is great. And I'd like to go to maybe somewhere on the West Coast, maybe San Diego.
Come stay with me.
Yeah. So what are some places that I need to go? Because I mean, there's literally a million places.
Well, I've heard fantastic things about Boise.
Yeah, last episode.
Boise, Idaho.
If you go to San Diego, spend time there, and then kind of head up. Go LA, go up the coast. That is like my absolute favorite drive, my absolute favorite part of the world. I mean,
I'd do that with you, Emily. Like, I would 100% do that with you.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
We're on the same work schedule. We should do it.
Oh.
Okay.
I think we just nailed down.
This.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Emily, I so appreciate just the lifestyle, though. Just, kind of flying by, just.
Jesse, it's called homelessness.
Homelessness by choice. By choice.
Voluntary homelessness is. I think it's awesome.
I love it, Emily. I love it for you.
Yeah,
it
cool.
suits you.
Yeah.
So West Coast is what we're determining is on the horizon for you. You're going to couch surf, maybe West Coast.
Yeah.
Fall, you'll do some fall places like where there's leaves and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I might go see
apple orchards and such.
Yeah. I might go see Tyler, pop into Paris again. Who knows? Truly, wherever the wind takes me. I just don't really have any plans. I'm very much a type B person. I would be curious to know how a type A person would live this lifestyle. I don't think they would do well. No offense to type A people, but
what's type B? Like, what's the difference?
You got to be laid back. She's laid back.
Yeah, type B is like laid back. Not that you don't make plans, but you don't need plans. And I think like a type A person, they would have planned out the entire year. I'm truly doing like a month by month or week by week basis on where I'm going to live.
Is there a type C? And where did these types come from? How many types are we talking? Have we got a whole alphabet? Because I only hear about type A.
I feel like type A and type B is standard. Like, that's just standard
you're either
for
like
conversation.
Big planner, you're not a planner. I really don't know what type C would be.
That's what's so surprising about this for me, for you, Emily, is that to do this kind of lifestyle, you really have to take initiative to plan. Like, you're not planning very far ahead, but you are planning, and you're taking the initiative to travel, which for a type B personality, I kind of think you're a mix of both. Mm-hmm. There's just like no way that you're.
But Enneagram 7s, like, I don't know the type A B thing. It is funny watching Jesse and his family, like he and his wife. Like, she's the type A, he's the type B, I guess. Or like he said, maybe there's a C in there somewhere. But like, she's like planning, making sure that everything's buttoned up and taken care of. And Jesse's like, oh, okay. Like he's just going with the flow, which is, I think, a really cool dynamic. And a lot of marriages are like that. It is interesting to do it as a solo person, because you really do have to wear kind of both hats, where you're flexible, but you do need to like make sure the reservation is booked and that your flight is, so it is interesting having to wear both hats.
She's a good planner.
Have you run into any issues where like you forgot about something?
Oh, I'm sure. Actually, no. I've been pretty good about I like the big things like flights and Airbnbs and stuff. Some things I don't quite figure out until maybe a few days before. So like when I knew I was coming to Colorado, that's a 10-hour drive from where I was in Dallas. And I didn't decide until the week of like, oh, maybe I should split up a 10-hour drive and not just do it all by myself. So like I was at last minute, I was like, let me book a hotel somewhere just so I can have like a little bit of a break. So, but even then it was like a few days before I still planned it. But maybe a more organized person would have planned that back when they actually booked the Airbnb. So yeah, I guess I am kind of wearing both hats. To clarify, I'm also an Enneagram 5, not an Enneagram 7.
No. But I was thinking through the lens of an Enneagram 7. It's like, I would jump into the adventure of what you're doing, make memories and spontaneous and let's go and like, let's find friends all over the country. I would do that, no question. You know, so I know that, and I don't think that's a type A or B thing. Like that's my Enneagram type. I would be drawn to what you're doing. So I'm just curious about how that all kind of factored in too, but just how you're wired.
Just in case our listeners don't know, Emily, what is your Enneagram? Your Enneagram 5.
Enneagram
I know,
5.
but what is an Enneagram 5?
Oh, it's the investigator.
Investigator. Ooh, I
didn't even know that was. I need to read the Enneagram book. I didn't even know there was an investigator. That's got to be the coolest one.
Thank you.
An investigator? That is what a great title.
It's a really nice way to say that I'm really nerdy and I just research everything. So like I just want like I'm motivated by.
Do you have a trench coat and a large magnifying glass?
No, but I have a cape.
That's what I imagined. I imagine the trench coat.
You have a cape and a bloodhound, a loyal bloodhound with you at all times.
I just like research everything. So that's why like in staff meetings, someone will ask a question and I'm immediately on Google just because I can't.
Yeah, she won't even say anything. We'll literally be like, oh, remember that thing that the whatever? And like 14
5 seconds later,
like,
yeah.
In 1989, this happened. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go.
After some investigation.
Yeah. Investigator is just a nice way to say nerd. And so
I love it.
It's fine.
I love this for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a great show in store for you today. Coming up later, we talked to comedian Joe Coy. You've seen him on Netflix and a bunch of other stuff, but he has a new movie coming out called Easter Sunday. We talked to him about that. At the end of the show, you've heard us do table topics from time to time. You know, usually we have games or different interactive things at the end of the show. We sometimes do table topics to get to know the cast. Well, we have a very special table topics planned for today. A little Parisian theming. A little Parisian. Why? Our very own Tyler Huckabee has been in Paris, so he's going to bring Parisian table topics at the end of the show. Don't miss it. Stay tuned right now. Up next, it's Slices.
I do it over and over again. I'll be the reason you get out of bed, 'cause you would do the same for me. You tell me over and over again, I am the reason you're trying your best, but you would do the same for me. Whenever you need, there I'll be, 'cause you would do the same for me. When I was stuck on my lowest, you would call every day, but then I
You're listening to Emilia Tarrant. The song is Same for Me. Well, today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Now, relationships take work, especially the most important relationship you can have in your life, your relationship with yourself. Taking care of yourself looks different for everyone, whether it's eating right, exercising, or seeking professional therapy. BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you that you matter, and therapy is a great way to make sure you show up for yourself. Therapy is a helpful resource that gives you space to freely discuss and process the ups and downs of life. And BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. Give it a try. See why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. And right now, Relevant Podcast listeners can get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/relevant. That's BetterHelp.com/relevant to save 10%. Do it. Okay, it's time for
Slices.
What do you have, Jesse?
All right. So there was a really interesting story that has kind of been circulating this week that kind of shows the power of social media, but also its ability to be manipulated. You guys might remember back in 2016, 2017, Zack Snyder was working on, one of the DC comic book movies, the Batman versus Superman. Yeah, unfortunately, he had a family tragedy and had to leave the project and had another director come in. And a lot of fans were not happy with the final product. And so for a stint of a few months, rabid comic book fans would tweet about releasing the quote Snyder Cut. Basically, a cut of the film that Zack Snyder, he claimed to have all this extra footage from when he was shooting it and storyboards for different like plot lines and stuff that just never got made. And it seemed like kind of an absurd proposal because there wasn't really any precedent for another version of a big blockbuster movie just kind of being re-released with a different director, kind of editing it, shooting new stuff and taking it in a different scene. But the fan feedback was so huge that Warner ended up eventually greenlighting it, and now you can watch the Snyder Cut, like a 4-hour version of this movie on HBO Max. But Rolling Stone did some research in the last couple of weeks after kind of being tipped off that something kind of possibly shady had gone on with that social media campaign. They found that 13% of all of the tweets that, this kind of upswelling of fan support for this new version of this movie, that 13% were actually bots programmed to kind of fuel the fan flames and push this over the edge. The thing is, it worked. Warner actually spent money and financed this movie based on fan interaction. But what they found was a lot of that fan interaction was fake. Now, they don't really know for certain who's responsible for these bots. There is some suspicion that maybe Zack Snyder could have been involved, that maybe it was just some, toxic elements of the fan base kind of manipulating social media to kind of push the studio in their direction. But the implications of the story, when you think about it, that's pretty crazy that a relatively small number of people using, basically kind of misrepresenting identities online, pushed a major studio to spend tens of millions of dollars on a project based on their perception of what fans wanted, when reality, the group of fans was significantly smaller than what the studio believed because there were bots programmed to try to get the studio to make this movie.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is it worked. It's years later and the people behind it probably aren't going to suffer any consequences.
So my first instinct when you said it was actually that Warner was behind it, trying to create a viral, quote unquote, grassroots, quote unquote, fan campaign to then essentially market the thing that they were going to do anyway. That's what the skeptic in me immediately went to. But you're saying it's actually the inverse. That there's probably some rogue fans that tried to get their will imposed by programming these bots, and then it went off from there, and that the studio actually did, quote unquote, listen to the fans, but it really was a small group of people that were behind this first surge. That is crazy. And
the reason that the story is so interesting to me isn't like, I don't really care too much about the Snyderverse and DC comic movies. I mean, nothing against them. Yeah. But when you think about the implications, especially when it comes to like elections and politics and swaying the ability Exactly. Through fake accounts and through bots.
Fan mentality is like a herd mindset. They're like, oh, everybody says that's good. I think that's good too now. It's like... That's
what I was thinking. That was my first instinct.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the tail wagging the dog, man. That's crazy.
It's not too dissimilar. And I mean, we've seen versions of this in the past with like... when you talk about like creating this sort of like, dialogue that hopefully people kind of catch on to and fuel a movement. Cameron, you remember back in like the publishing days, there was like kind of a dirty secret of a lot of these mega churches is they would buy the pastor thousands of copies of a pastor's book to get it onto a bestseller list to try to get the book to actually become it's the same thing. It was creating sort of not artificial sales, but essentially like a version. Yeah, but it was the same thing. It was like, maybe we can figure out sort of how to hack the algorithm of a bestsellers list and let the tail wag the dog. It's interesting to see the strategy.
What the people did. So a megachurch would buy 5,000 copies of pastor's new book at Barnes and Noble and stuff. They would like literally pay full price for it, and then would leave it on the chairs of the church to give a copy to everybody who attended that Sunday. Right. So it jukes the system in the sense that like there's a very small window, almost like Nielsen ratings or Apple podcast rankings, that like there's this activity in a short window. And so now it's at the top of the charts. Well, then that creates this perception that it's a successful book and there's a lot of fans reading it. And so like, I'm interested in new books. It's on the bestseller table and now I'm going to buy it. And so that fueled long-term sales. Or they'll speak at a conference and the pastor himself will buy 10,000 copies for everybody at the conference. He's losing all that money, but in long term, he's going to make it way back because now he's going to actually, it's going to propel thousands of more sales because of the fake awareness. It's crazy that they did that. They caught on to it after years of it, and they've rigged, or they've kind of like suppressed. If they see a lot of things coming from one point of sale or something like that, like they'll neuter it and whatever. But it took them a while to catch on, and it worked for many years.
Yeah, and that's and to me, like, there's always going to be, you know, people. I mean, and that was people in ministry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that.
I
was going to say, there's always going to be.
On one hand, I mean, they were paying for it and they wanted to give it away, but it was absolutely unethical on the other because they were creating a perception that wasn't real.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be bad actors that are going to find ways to hack the algorithm, whether that algorithm is some sort of analog thing like a bestseller list, or it's some sort of fan uprising to get a movie made. This is just another example of I feel like the need to be cautiously skeptical about a lot of, you know, well, let me say this. It raises more awareness as how easily the public can be manipulated on social media platforms, and two, coming into, like I said, kind of a heated political time, having that awareness of that some of these opinions that seem so popular could just be a perception either created by bots or algorithms, I think is a really important thing to keep in mind in kind of
that's
contemporary
what I was
discourse.
about. I was surprised about, like, when you said, I was kind of not on board with it. I don't agree with it, but I could see how it would be kind of a genius marketing strategy. Like, when you see that there's a lot of traction for something, you feel more comfortable about it. But at the same time, misrepresenting people's identities really doesn't sit right with me. Like that is a really scary thing if you think about it.
Yeah, and like when it comes to like, you know, obviously it's one thing if you're, you know, just messing with Hollywood movies, but like you said, like with politics, that can have a lot bigger implications for how our world works. And so obviously I would say most people agree that using bots to propel an idea is unethical, but is there any sort of like legality stuff to, like, you know, if they were to figure out that this person fueled the bots, do they just get a slap on the wrist or what happens?
Who's going to slap? What is it? I mean, it's just social media.
Yeah, it might be like a terms of use violation, but I don't think there's a law.
Well, it depends. You know? Are they using people's actual photos, or are they getting it? Either way, if they're misrepresenting somebody's identity, that I feel like there would be a legal angle there.
Nope.
Like if your picture was used as a bot and it was acting as though that person was speaking.
Nope. It's just a social media account.
Yeah, I don't.
What?
Yeah,
That's
I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
I mean,
I don't know if there is.
It's just catfishing, I guess, at that point.
It's catfishing. I like literally have like 23 accounts of various genders and ages, and they're all very good looking. And I have plenty of conversations with plenty of people about very interesting ideas, you know, all over the world. It's just the way I pass my time in the evenings.
And there is a small army of people who sound like me on social media trying to get a new Ernest movie made. We need, you know, we just need it. And the people are speaking in a very small corner of Twitter. And so listen,
I do have a question, though. This is for real. If you were a person who created all these catfish accounts and bot accounts, and you were afraid that you might get caught, or you might, you know, your IP address might get found out, what you would want to do is stay very transient. You'd want to not have one location where you can be tracked. You'd probably want to, week by week, just kind of figure out where you want to live that week. Have we looked more closly at Emily's internet history to see if maybe she's one of the ones?
Undercover.
You've got some explaining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tisk.
I plead the fifth.
I'm gonna tell Elon Musk about this. You tanked his whole investment because of this, Emily. Thanks a lot. Just nothing but bots. You ruined the deal.
The question that we need to ask, and I, as your coworker and employer, probably should have looked more closely at, is why are you on the run? You know, really the why. Why do you refuse to have a mailing address? That's really what I should probably
I
It's
was
called
going to
off the
ask
grid.
this
Yeah.
earlier. What is the driving force? Is it just the travel bug? Is it like, do you enjoy doing this? Is it just like a check off
Well,
the
she kind of
list
has
of
to
your
at this
bucket
point.
list?
Things have
I
gotten
know.
really hard. The things have gotten really bad. The heat is hot.
Yeah, I got to stay on the run at this point. No,
Have you seen The Born Identity? Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, all loved Nacogdoches, but I was like stuck there for 2 years with the pandemic. I mean, I was there for a long time, but I was just like, I felt like I could not go anywhere because of the pandemic. And once I realized that I can travel safely because I'm vaccinated, and my incredible job lets me work wherever I want, I decided to capitalize on the opportunity before I can ever do it again. And
Why are you planning on leaving us?
Yeah. Where are you going, Ems? She's not going anywhere. She's not allowed
probably
to.
catch up with me at some point, so I'm just assuming. Yeah.
I'm probably going to be in jail in the next couple months or something. So.
Yeah, you're just anticipating the prison sentence. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
That's great.
so enjoying it while I can.
That's smart. I love it. All right, Gabs, what do you have?
So continuing with the social media conversation, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, is not a saying that has ever picked up any traction in Silicon Valley, as evidenced by the fact that Facebook is doing yet another big redesign. That's not to say that Facebook isn't in need of fixing anything. It desperately is, but let's not kid ourselves here. A redesigned newsfeed isn't exactly what we need.
What are they doing?
So instead of doing anything that would actually be helpful to us, the new Facebook will be split into 2 tabs. One designed to help you find new content, stories, and Instagram reels based on your likes. The other full of posts from friends, organizations, and groups you follow.
Oh, okay.
So that's basically what it breaks down to. The company statement was, "We understand that you may want more options when it comes to sorting and seeing your content." The company said in a statement, "There are times you might just know what you're looking for, say the latest post from your groups, or you may want to encounter fresh, entertaining content." That all sounds like a very long way of saying that Facebook is chasing TikTok to me.
So like the Discover page or the For You page and your following. I mean, Instagram's kind of doing the same thing. I mean, which makes sense because they're the same company, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I at least it's like stuff you potentially want to see, not just stuff that you could control, and not just have some mysterious content algorithm serve you random stuff that you don't care about. At least it's some option for customization.
Question,
you know?
if not for work, when was the last time you were on Facebook just scrolling for fun?
I go on Facebook a lot, but I use Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, you're on there for shopping.
Yeah. So inevitably I do scroll the feed because I'm on, like, I will go to check Facebook Marketplace. So I do scroll the feed, but I'm mainly just checking things that are going on in like my actual neighborhood. Like I have pages that you can look at for your actual neighborhood. I don't go on there to like see what people are doing, you know?
I mean, if I want to chop it up and just see what's going on in the political realm, you know, I get on there on, you know, just some boomer groups, and man, some wild ideas floating around there, guys. I don't know if you've been on there in a while, but it's getting crazy out there. But it's good to stay in the loop on that stuff.
Did they say why they were doing this? Because like some people are saying it's like because they want to get away from like the crazy conspiracy theories being passed around, stuff like that. So they're trying to like neuter that by making the feed emphasize recommended content versus problematic content that your aunt posted or whatever. Like, is it that they're favoring this other content and they're going to try and like sideline the people that used to dominate your feed? Like, I'm just trying to figure out like why they're doing this, other than like you said, maybe just chasing TikTok. Because TikTok has that scrollability that like you used to be laying in bed and watching, like 2 hours later, you're like, crap, I should have gone to sleep. Facebook hasn't had that in years, in my opinion, you know?
Yeah. Well, they're trying to point users towards more entertainment by integrating stories and reels even deeper into the Facebook experience.
So videos going to be emphasized.
So
Yeah.
Clearly hoping to take out a chunk out of its rivals' chokehold, you know, the younger social media users who have avoided Facebook like the plague.
I just don't think the younger generation is going back to. I don't think they're going back. Because
we have
like that's where
TikTok.
your mom and that's where your mom and aunts are and stuff, and you don't want them knowing what you're doing. You're going to post on your Finsta or your TikTok. You know?
It's also like, I think because TikTok's so dominating, like the few times that I have scrolled on Facebook, I'll see a TikTok that I saw 2 months ago. Like it's just like it was posted on TikTok. A couple weeks later, it makes it over to Instagram. A couple weeks later, it finally makes it over to Facebook. And it's just like, why would I go on Facebook to see old content when I could be seeing new content? And so, I don't really care for Facebook. I update it because I have family on there and I want them to know I'm still alive.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Okay, that's not to say though, if you were a Facebook user, we still respect you.
We love you. I mean,
Respect
it's
it. We just don't. It's not in our
Hey,
day.
for relevant, it's our number one traffic source.
Yeah.
Respect is not the best word there, but we recognize you. We see you. We have questions.
No, hey, I love Facebook users because they are our number one traffic source at relevantmagazine.com. It's like when we post on Facebook, that generates so much traffic. So people are on there. I'm not saying, I'm just trying to figure out like what the point of Facebook is and then current social media mix, you know, because definitely during the political era is where people shared articles and theories and ranted and vented about stuff. You can't really do that on Instagram. Can't really do that elsewhere. So fine. But if they're changing the news feed to like try to neuter that content, like where are people going to go for that kind of content? If that's what they want to do on the internet is like to have their voice be heard and they don't want to shoot a silly video or whatever, you know? So like, I don't know.
Well, my thing is like, you know, they're going to make it to where you can just see like the people that you follow or the groups that you follow. But like if someone I follow reposts, you know, a crazy conspiracy thing that they saw, is it still going to show up on my feed or is it only going to be... So then, I mean, what's the point of separating it? Like, I'm still going to see the things that I really don't want to see. So,
well, you'll spend more time over the Discover tab and avoid your crazy friends and family members.
No, I'm just going to spend more time in TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Same.
Exactly. Interesting. All right, what do you have, Emily?
I have some good old celebrity news. You know, I love to bring that. Last week, Kylie Jenner, of the iconic Jenner Kardashian clan, posted a photo with Travis Scott in front of their respective private jets with the caption, "You want to take mine or yours?" Now, aside from this just being so out of touch with reality, and the fact that they each own a private jet, a lot of people understandably were upset because, you know, why do you each need a private jet? And so someone started looking, and there's a website where you can track, you know, any flight really in the world. And so people did some research, and it turns out Kylie has taken multiple flights that are only a few minutes long, some as short as 3 minutes. So she gets like the whole process of getting onto a plane to fly 3 minutes to somewhere else, which some people did the math, it would be about a 40-minute drive. So understandably, people are upset because private jets are just so terrible for the environment. Like reports say there's somewhere between 5 to 14 times more pollution than a commercial plane. And she's using it a lot, like pretty often. And so
she uses it to get groceries. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so it's just
I gotta go pick up the prescription from the drugstore. Be right back.
Yeah, let me
but
hop
for real,
in my
why
jet.
would she do that and not just get a helicopter? I mean, like that is for local, bouncing around the town. Why would you?
How long does it take to drive to the airport?
Well, I don't think helicopters are safe. She's probably like
safe for her, but I mean safer for the environment.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So I think
I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
Where is she coming from?
Yeah. I mean, she also owns like, I don't know, 15 cars. So she can't take any of them or have someone get an Uber. I don't know. It's really frustrating because, you know, there's all this push for, you know, like each of us has a part to play in decreasing climate change. And it's like, I watched my paper straw disintegrate in my iced coffee yesterday and she's hopping on a jet.
You just put a limp, wet piece of
disappointment.
I'm drinking a really gross paper straw.
This is terrible.
And she's
But I'm doing my part. Yeah.
It gets all like gummy and smushed in your mouth. Like, ugh, yeah.
In the 3 minutes it took my paper straw to go away, she's on a flight. And it's just like, come on. Like, it's really infuriating because...
Has she responded to this? Because we report about this. I've seen the internet.
She's not going to.
She's not going to acknowledge it. She hasn't said anything.
She is not
Maybe
going
in season
to
2 of the
acknowledge
Kardashians. That's how the Kardashians do not respond to any drama until it's on their show. That's
I'm going to tell you, if she does, her response is going to be that it's just about timing. So while it might be a 40-minute drive, she might have made her schedule so tight all throughout the day that she has to fly to different appointments. I feel like that would be her excuse. But is she just using it for leisure? We don't know. If she's just using it for leisure for a 3-minute trip, that's very interesting to say the least.
And it's also frustrating that like she has a private jet, Travis Scott has one, Kim has her own one. They can't share. Yeah. They all really need their own private jet. Because it's like all of these private jets out in the world just ruining the environment.
But with all their schedules, fine, don't get a plane, get something smaller like a helicopter, whatever. But with their separate schedules, it makes sense that they all have different ones.
No offense to Kylie, but is she really that big? Like, is her schedule that important that she can't take 40 minutes? She's not the president of the United States. She's going to go put a lip kit on.
There's economical and environmental ways to do this. How would you like to see just Travis Scott just hang glide in, pick up the groceries?
I would pay good
Mark
money
his
for
hang
that.
glider up to another tall peak and just jump off and fly on home. There's ways to do this that are still cool. They're just more mindful.
I mean, in Fortnite, they come in on the glider and there's a Travis Scott skin. I've seen this in real life. I've seen
that's what I'm saying. Hang gliders are in right now. They're very in right now. Everybody wins in that scenario.
All right. Well, there's a lot more where that came from. Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com for all the latest. We're publishing every weekday, and follow us on all the socials. All right. Stay tuned. Up next, Joe Coy joins us.
How dare you ruin my life like this? Tragic. I put all I got in one big basket. Regret that you couldn't cast all my feelings, 'cause you asked me where I'll be. Then you bring her to the party. Oh, how tragic madness. You make me hate all these crowded spaces. You can't be excused from just so sorry. You're asking where I'll be. Thought that meant you loved me, but you still brought it to the party.
You're listening to Nicole Hahn. The song is How Dare You. Well, today's show is brought to you by Resilient Hope, a new devotional by best-selling author, popular speaker, human rights activist, Christine Caine. The devotional is going to help you build the endurance and find the strength you need to keep moving forward one mountain at a time through 100 hope-filled devotions. Christine learned from the joys and setbacks of hiking California's mountains that endurance is key to finishing any difficult climb. Drawing on lessons from those mountain trails, she offers resilient hope for times when life isn't turning out like you expected. Each day of Resilient Hope includes a scripture verse, reflections, and stories from Christine, and a prayer, all offered as an invitation for you to embrace the strength God has for you. As the Holy Spirit transforms you from the inside out, you'll become stronger and more confident in your God-given mission. And right now they have a special launch offer for Relevant Podcast listeners. You can save 15% off Resilient Hope at the Christine Caine store. Use promo code RELEVANT15 at resilienthopebook.com. Again, that's code RELEVANT15 at resilienthopebook.com. Where our guest today is stand-up comedian Joe Coy. You've seen his specials on Netflix and Comedy Central. And coming up this week, you'll be able to see his new movie, Easter Sunday, based on his real-life experience as a stand-up comic, balancing his career and his Filipino-American family. Our very own Tyler Huckabee talked to Joe about bringing his experience to life in the movie and what he hopes audiences will take away from Easter Sunday. Here's our conversation with Joe Coy.
Joseph, are you coming for Easter?
I don't know, Mom. I'm really busy. I just tested for this pilot.
You're going to be a pilot?
A network pilot for like a TV show.
Ah, you're playing a pilot on the TV show.
No, a lawyer.
You could have been a lawyer if you only applied yourself.
Little father and son road trip. It's gonna be fun. Easter Sunday is like the Filipino Super Bowl.
I'm curious about the kind of the initial concept of even how you came up with the general idea for this, and from first like an idea in somebody's head all the way to the screen now. What was that journey like?
The cool thing about the process of this movie was the special Coming in Hot, my second one that I shot on Netflix. That's the one Steven Spielberg watched, and he invited me into Amblin, and they asked me to pitch a movie idea based on my family. And this was basically a pitch. I called it Easter Sunday, and I pitched the day in the life of love and life and chaos. And at the end of that pitch, they bought it in the room. And I've never seen anything move faster than this project. And to have Steven's blessing was incredible. To be able to tell this story about my culture, my family, and, you know, see my mom come to life on the big screen through Lydia Gaston it was a dream come true. So yeah, that's basically how this all happened.
This is obviously a community that does not get a lot of representation right now in Hollywood on the big screen. And it's something that is, it's very exciting that you get to bring that. What are some of the really key parts that you want to make sure when you started putting this movie together, you want to make sure that you got right about that depiction, things that were really important to telling the story the right way in an authentic way?
I just wanted to tell our truth. You know, I didn't want to change it up for the sake of making it funny. You know, I wanted to make sure that I told an authentic story. And on top of that, I wanted people to laugh with us and celebrate with us and not make fun of us, but have fun with us. Yeah, there were so many things that were important to me, like the Balakbayan box, where we're actually filling it up with gifts and sending it to the Filipinos, because, you know, I wanted people that weren't Filipino to watch the movie and relate to us as just being a family. But on top of that, I wanted people to also see what these immigrant families do. Not only do they work and live here amongst everyone else and pay taxes just like you, but just remember that there's another layer that they live and swear by, which is a responsibility of taking care of people that aren't as fortunate, that are still back home. And to see that scene, that was very important to me, because that was my life growing up, seeing my mom put stuff in that box and sending it to my cousins in the Philippines. So that's such a cool thing to see, because then you'll appreciate it when you watch this movie and you go to work and you have that Filipino coworker. Now you know what they do when they go home. Now you know why this job is so important to them here, because it's not only for this family, but several other families when they get back home.
I can only imagine if it was me making a movie and someone was going to play my mom, there's a lot of complicated feelings that go into that. Obviously, you want to make sure you get it right. You want to make sure that it feels real and lived in. What was you guys' process for making sure that bond, that those interactions, that those worked and those felt real?
The one most important thing to me was, you know, my mom character is such a big part of my career. And, you know, when I represent my mom on stage, my fan base is in love with her. And when we, you know, when Lydia came on, you know, it was just not even a real conversation. It was literally just like looking at Lydia going, you know, yes, make it yours, but man, represent my mom to the best. And that's all I had to say, because she came on the scene, and there were a couple scenes. I keep saying this on every interview, but there were a couple scenes in this movie where I cried because it was just so real to life. And Lydia was just amazing.
Yeah. I've literally never seen this many Filipinos in the same place before.
We're sending gifts to our family in the Philippines. I'm sending this brand new hairdryer. If it makes your hair look like that, I wouldn't send it. How dare you? How dare you?
We should put them both in the box and ship it.
My mom is at war with my Tita Teresa, and they don't even know why.
I'm curious why, if there was anything, even when you did the pitch the first time, was there any other ideas for different holidays, or was it always Easter Sunday for you? I want this to be an Easter Sunday thing.
Yeah, Easter Sunday was an idea that I came up with when I was on tour. I just wanted a movie that I could tell the whole story on one day. And to me, growing up, Easter Sunday was a huge day in my life. It's, you know, some of my most memorable moments was Easter. You know, my mom met all her Filipino friends at church. You know, when she moved here to this country in the late 60s, early 70s, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was none of that. My mom had to physically find Filipino friends and build her own community. And that was at church. I mean, it was so significant that she would rent out the Knights of Columbus Hall, you know, and we would do Filipino gatherings at the Knights of Columbus Hall, which was at church. So, you know, when I pitched this movie, it was Easter Sunday. That was the day that I wanted to choose to tell this story.
That's so interesting because I grew up in church, and for me, church was just not, like I'm a white kid from the Midwest, so it was very, we had organs and hymn books, and the food was bad, and that was like so seeing stories like this is so interesting and really honestly like very beautiful, because I think it's like it made me kind of jealous. Like that looks like a really cool experience to be a part of.
Yeah, it's so funny because you living in this country, church is just church for you. You know what I mean? It's just the Sunday. It's church day. But for immigrants that come into this country, it's the only time where they can feel like one with you and everybody, no matter what color you are. Sunday and church is the one time an immigrant can actually feel like, okay, it doesn't matter what color we are. We all believe in Jesus. And this is the day where no one's going to look at me for being Filipino. They're just going to look at me because I believe in Jesus. And we're all relating to Jesus for this hour. And that's how important church is, especially to immigrants, especially for Filipinos, because the Catholic religion is so big. So that was the day that my mom could put on her best clothes and everyone can just relate to we all believe in Jesus, right? and then not only that was the time for my mom to really find other Filipinos. So it takes on a different, meaning. For you, it's just another day. But for my mom, it was the day for her to like feel seen and also find other Filipinos that looked like her. So that's how important church was to my mom.
Moments like these are few and far between. Let's enjoy it. Everyone buckle up.
Filipino families fight a lot. Make sure you're not late for dinner. But we love a lot too.
Your cousin Eugene owes me a lot of money. Could you lend it to me? No!
That was Joe Coy. Stay tuned. Up next, I'm telling you, the rundown says La table blah blah blah. I can't read French, so up next, French table topics.
Days it's so hard to relax. You gotta hold a gun to my back to make me smile. To make me smile. And the only way I seem to cope is by trying.
You're listening to Death Cab for Cutie. The song is Here to Forever. Okay, it is now time for La table blah blah blah. Parisian Table Topics. Please welcome to the show, Relevant senior editor and our roving Parisian correspondent, because he's actually in Paris right now, Tyler Huckabee. Hey, Tyler.
Table Topic. Hey, bonjour, everybody.
So listeners know, like from time to time, we do little get to know yous. We want to get to know the cast a little better. So we have table topic cards, just little conversation starters. We were going to do that this time. And we thought, who better to bring us kind of a refreshed approach to table topics than bring it some Parisian flavor. So that's what we're doing here today. Take it away, Tyler.
Okay. So these table topics, here's how I structured these. And two things. I'm going to be, instead of doing a group swim, I'm going to be directing these table topics specifically to you, the cast members. So you'll have to answer. It won't be just whoever has the best, the first one to answer like we usually do it. It'll be 4 specific people. And B, all these table topics are drawn from real life experiences that I have had here in France. Wow. So these are, you're going to be faced with decisions that I have been faced with as somebody abroad right now, and I want to hear what you would have done in a situation that I found confusing or a little scary or a little uncertain. I want to see how you would react to it. Does that make sense? Everybody understand these table topics?
Yeah, a little nervous, but let's go for it.
Okay, Emily, we're going to start with you.
Oh, I'm ready.
All
right. Emily, we're starting with you, okay?
Oh, great.
All right, Emily, you are riding the French metro, the subway here. You're riding the French metro when out of nowhere, a man starts yelling at you, okay? You can't understand him, but he's clearly agitated. He's grumpy. He's unhappy, and he's unhappy with you specifically.
What's
he's pointing at you, yelling at you. Exactly.
A foreign language.
You can't understand him. Fortunately, you were with a friend who speaks French. They listen and they translate. And what the person is yelling at you about is he wants to know why you elected Donald Trump to be president. What do you say? How do you respond to this irritated Frenchman?
Well, there's a lot of things you just said that would be very hypothetical for me.
It's an elaborate scenario that Emily has found herself in.
Tyler's like, if you could let me know, he's waiting downstairs, so I need to go back and give an
right
answer.
here.
He is irate.
Very unhappy.
He followed me home.
I don't know. I probably would just start apologizing and saying like, I'm so sorry.
You just say sorry until he goes away.
Yeah, sorry.
So there was a show called The Apprentice, right? And then Dennis Rodman was on there. All right, I'm trying to think of it.
Yeah. I might also just start crying and try to make him feel bad. I can cry on cue. So
waterworks.
Yeah.
Do the waterworks.
And I think I would just utilize that.
It goes away.
And then the second I can get off the metro, even if it's not my stop, I'm just going to get off. And I'm going to wait for the next one to come. And I'm going to get back on. Yeah. I'm going to cry. I'm going to avoid it. Just immediately apologize. I'm not going to handle it well. I'll be honest.
So basically you're saying it's like staff meeting. Is what
where I cry,
any criticism
meeting when I get stressed,
even if it's just helpful feedback.
I think you just show them you just show them memes that people in their like 50s posted on Facebook during 2016. Just show it to they're like, oh, I get it this is why he got elected.
Facebook memes.
The hilarious memes. All right, Gabs, you're up. You ready for this, Gabs?
I sure am.
Okay. You are walking your dog through a park when out of nowhere, the dog squats and does his business. Number 2, in the middle of the park. All right. You were caught by surprise by this. You don't have a bag. So you just kind of hope that nobody saw and you start to walk away when a city official, guess what? Starts yelling at you en français, in French. You can understand enough to know that he's saying your dog can't poop here, but you don't know how to tell him sorry or what you're going to do about it. He keeps yelling at you. You try to back away. He's following you, still yelling. Your dog is there. What are you going to do?
Do I have my phone in this situation? Like, am I allowed to have my phone
in this situation? Well, yeah, you do.
Okay, so in that situation, I would hop on Google Translate, and I hate to be the practical one, but I would hop on Google Translate and say, I'm going to go grab a bag. I'm so sorry. And proceed to go grab a bag.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Hold on. Would you actually grab the bag and come back, or would you just get out of eyesight and disappear?
No, Gabs would.
I would.
Never to be seen again. Never to be seen again.
This is an issue I run into regularly on where I live, so I would absolutely go back for the bag.
You would do it again?
Yeah.
Do you guys think that I went back and cleaned it up
Absolutely.
or not?
Yes. Yes.
No.
I did. Yeah, I did. I did it.
No, I think you start walking and you're like, I promise I'll be right back. You stand here, sir, Mr. Angry Parisian. You stand guard so no one steps in this. You stand guard so no one steps in this. And then when you're about 100 yards away, you look back, you go, so long! And you just run away. That's what I would do.
Types in Google Translate.
Au revoir, monsieur. You'll remember this as the day you almost caught Monsieur Huckabee.
and you pull your cape over your head and disappear.
Like, man,
all right, Jesse,
really do
you
not
ready?
like Americans here. We really do dislike Americans. That was unnecessary. He could have just left the dog poop. He did not have to insult me theatrically.
It wasn't that big of a deal. Just telling him he can't do it.
Why add insult to injury and littering? And basically, exactly.
Tyler, have you seen anyone in the wild wearing a cape over there? I feel like somebody might wear a cape.
A cape?
A cape.
You know, it did happen one time. Yeah, I saw a cape in the wild. So, it was true. Yeah, I lived it.
Can you imagine the dramatic flourish that you would have, the opportunities to make an emphasis with it? I mean,
I think about it. I think about these things. I think a cape would be a lot of fun. They're going to come back. I'm maybe ready as soon as they do.
Were they ever in? I don't think capes were ever in.
I think have you seen the Renaissance?
Royalty. Yes. Okay.
But it was a little while ago.
But what in the era of capes? Okay, like when people actually wore them, and they weren't like vampires or superheroes, right? When capes were just something you had in your closet. What like function did they serve? Just
Cold.
keeping your back warm?
Yeah.
They were like a jacket. You just don't stick your arms in it. So
Yeah,
it's like you just tie it around.
Why?
It's a jacket you can wear over your suit or your dress.
Yeah,
It keeps you
Have you
warm.
seen them? They look pretty cool. Just
I'm
saying.
just saying, why not put
They weren't
arms
like
in that
Superman
thing?
capes. They were like had fur, right? They were like fur lined,
Yeah.
more like a gladiator thing,
Yeah.
right? So it wasn't just.
No, it makes no sense. I'm not going to walk around with like an Afghan just thrown around my shoulders like a blanket. That looks like I got the flu. Okay, that's what you do when you're sick. You walk around the house with a blanket thrown over your shoulders. It's no functional purpose of the cape. I think only dramatic people wore capes.
Jesse, you're missing the point. It's aerodynamics for speed. Clearly.
when you fly, when you're flying. How else was the Phantom of the Opera supposed to disappear with a flourish? If he didn't, was he going to do that just with like in a short sleeve T-shirt?
I mean, how can you do anything with a flourish without a cape? I mean, really, it applies to all situations in life.
Cape is a flourish.
Imagine leaving your classroom. Dramatic, like if you have a cape on, people remember you. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It is. What do you feel like is more? If you had an interaction that was more dramatic, like an eye patch or a cape? Like which one do you think?
Eye patch.
No,
Eye
cape is more
patch.
dramatic. Eye patch says this guy got into an accident. I'm not going to draw attention to it because it's probably a scar. You're probably wounded. A cape is a choice. You're doing that for flair. That's dramatic.
Exactly.
I just feel like when somebody has an eye patch on, I feel a little insecure looking at them directly. Like I don't want to make them feel insecure about their eye patch. So
Gabs, I was wondering why you had why you had no pirate friends. And now I know why. It's just too awkward for
eye
you.
patch would be more dramatic because like anybody can buy a cape, but like to put an eye patch on, like you have to have something happen.
yeah.
So that just feels.
But they might be insecure about it. And so they're not using it for
yeah.
dramatic effect. They're using it for medical, keeping it clean. You know what I mean? So it's like.
Or to correct a lazy eye. Like you'll put a patch on your good eye to correct your lazy
strengthen it.
eye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had, like at the eye doctor, they put patches on your eye if they've diluted your eye sometimes, So anyway.
All right.
All right.
Last one. This will be really fast. Jesse, you ready?
Yep. Yeah.
You ready? Yeah.
Born ready.
Okay.
Born ready. Yep.
Are you sure? It doesn't sound like you're ready. Okay, Jesse, you go into a restaurant, and upon entering this new, buzzy, kind of exciting Parisian eatery, you have what is genuinely one of the best meals of your whole entire life. You have such a good meal that you ask the waiter, who speaks a little bit of English, if you can talk to the chef and thank him. He says, of course. Okay. You are escorted back to the kitchen where you meet the chef, and you discover, much to your surprise, that the chef did not actually prepare the meal. It was actually prepared by a small rat under the chef's hat. He pulled his hair and operated him like a mecha, sort of like a Power Ranger type situation. And the rat was really the one who made the whole meal. You are a restaurant critic in this situation, and you now have to write a whole review of this restaurant. How exactly do you handle this?
Well, Tyler, everyone's very fortunate because, as Cameron can attest, I have a lot of French neighbors, and so I'm very, very familiar with French culture.
Very true.
Okay,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
so I've
their
been
first
in this. The funny thing is, Tyler, I've been in this exact scenario at several of my neighbors' homes. I have found
Their kitchen's
that
overrun with
most French families have trained pet rats that prepare elaborate meals for them and their guests. The kind thing to do here is to get a comically stereotypical piece of cheese with holes in it and just hand it to your little rat friend. Pat him on the head, and then do the thing that transcends language barriers. You just rub your stomach in a circular pattern and go, and then the rat tips his little hat to you, and you give each other kisses on the cheek because it's French. And then you slowly back out of the kitchen without ever breaking eye contact. It's an elaborate ritual, but
You're exactly right, Jesse. You're exactly right.
I caught it yesterday. Jesse had a neighbor come over, and they were moving away, and so she was saying goodbye. They had all been very good friends for a couple years, And Jesse came in and greeted Dana, and they hugged and and then she came over to greet Jesse to say goodbye, and she went to do the 2-cheek kiss to Jesse, but Jesse felt awkward after the first cheek and pulled out.
I didn't do the second cheek.
On the second one.
Oh, you can't do that.
No,
you got to do both or nothing.
And then it was just like awkward. And I'm across the room going, "Oh no, you don't subject to 2 cheeks."
Both or nothing.
No, okay. Look, I have a lot of interactions with French families. I've never nailed it. It's never not been awkward one time.
Yeah.
It has like, you got to understand how many times.
I could see you tense up the moment she walked in the room. You were like, "Oh no,"
because I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, and I never knew which one first. And what if I go for the wrong one first, and or it's just a straight on situation? Like it's.
I mean, it's everyone here. It's very common. It's like.
Oh, I know.
It's just how you say hello and goodbye here. It's very. I've had to get used to it.
Jesse, just put on your imaginary cape and handle it like a champ.
That's right.
The thing, I got my own head about it. I got my own head because I think she knew coming in, like, oh gosh, this is gonna be weird. Like, she's not gonna do it. She's French, okay?
Yeah.
Why have her not do something that's part of their culture? But she could tell, like, I've known this family for years now, and every time this little song and dance happens, it's awkward for both of us. And I'm thinking about just flat out refusing from here on. It's just
that might be worse.
I feel like it should be better for everybody.
Yeah, you had no option. I saw it from a mile away, and I didn't say anything to you afterwards. But I saw you got tense and your awkwardness, and it was so great. I enjoyed it.
No one needed to say anything. Everyone observed the awkwardness.
It's just the fact that she knows it feels awkward for you. Like, she knows.
Oh yeah.
I think she feels like she's going to break you one day, though, and that
she's gone now. She left. That was the final goodbye.
She went back to France.
You couldn't even. Wow.
Never
on
again.
The final goodbye, you couldn't
even do the 2 cheek. He bailed after one.
I botched it. Yeah.
It was like almost a double on the left, and he felt so weird because he kind of stunted, and then
it was like a double cheek press. It was, it's hard to recreate.
Left, right.
He couldn't pull the transition to the right. He kind of stumbled on the left, and then he just like, I'm out, and he stepped back a foot. He literally stepped back, and it was great.
You need to stand in front of a mirror and just practice bobbing your head,
just practice with Dana. Just get the rhythm
a real human too. Or
I need one of those heads that they use in haircutting school where you can practice haircuts
where you can
on.
just shove it out and let them kiss that.
Yeah, it's just a mannequin head. I don't need the whole mannequin. I just need the head, and I can learn to cut hair too.
Yeah,
and I can learn to cut a snazzy French haircut as well if I have a minute.
All right, well, that'll do it for Parisian Table Topics. Thanks a lot, Tyler. It was great. See you soon. See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Well, before we wrap things up, I want to thank Joe Coy for joining us today. Make sure to check out his new film, Easter Sunday. Don't want to miss it. Also, head over to relevantmagazine.com to see all of our daily content, including the summer digital issue of Relevant. Make sure you sign up for Relevant Plus to get an enhanced ad-free version of the issue, as well as other exclusive features all over the site, like unlimited content, ad-free reading, an ad-free version of this podcast. It's just a ton of stuff. Go check out all the perks right there on the Relevant Plus tab at relevantmagazine.com. And also, for real, the summer issue is stacked. I mean, we've got some of our favorite artists like James Vincent McMorrow and Echo Smith. We have Faith Leaders. We have Jon Favreau. It's just packed. Go check it out if you haven't already. And if you like what you see, share the content. Tell people about it. Love it. Tag us too when you do it. We love seeing it. It's great. And speaking of sharing it, follow Relevant on all the socials. We're on Twitter and Facebook posting all of our content. We're on Instagram pretty regularly, TikTok rarely. But follow us on all for the latest. And make sure relevantmagazine.com is part of your daily web browsing, habit. Just bookmark it. Keep coming back. Also, while you're at the site, every weekday, make sure to check out the faith section where we post our daily devotional series, Deeper Walk, which is presented by Lumo. We post a morning devotional. You can even sign up for a email so we can get sent to your inbox every morning. It is a great way to start your day. Don't miss Deeper Walk. Also, if you like our show, tell others. Leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to us. Rate it and review it and help us spread the word about this podcast. All right, on that note, we'll wrap things up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Gabrielle Griffin.
I'm Emily Brown.
All right, we'll see you next time. Have a great week, everyone.
for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
This is terrible, but I'm doing my part.
Relevant Podcast Network.